Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome from a very sunny Bournemouth on Monday the 6th, I do believe, of May 2022. And I was walking around, but I was planning on doing a video soon anyway, not done one for a little while, and I thought I'd stay in the old all our yesterdays colonial spirit and focus on a building that is now no longer being used for what it was repurposed for in the last few decades, which was a conservative club, a place where you can go and meet and have some drinks and play snooker and talk about all your yesterdays and compare medals and stuff like that. It's more for the older generation, and they've since closed down, although the building of course is still here, as you can see. But yes, it just seems very reminiscent of some of those buildings you see in old imperial set kind of films, often set in India or South Africa somewhere or whatever, where the Brits are with their little garrisons, and one of the first ones they managed to knock up in brick or whatever, because of course they'd have a brick factory in the middle of a desert. Oh, you don't need a brick factory? Okay, well they would have had streams galore where they could have quarried the clay then, wouldn't they? Oh, they wouldn't have had that either. Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry. Tangents. Yeah, and you often see these sorts of buildings being depicted in the backdrop behind Michael Caine or whoever it is. So this just kind of reminded me of it, and I thought, okay, that's all that would be. Maybe something that was actually built maybe, I don't know, 100 years ago or so. 150 maybe even years ago. But then of course, whilst I was just preparing to press record, I took a bit of a closer look at this building. And of course you notice straight away that windows are bricked in on ground level. They also have these ceremonial stones put in for good measure, just to hammer home and reinforce the narrative they wish you to remain within the perimeters of. And it looks all clean, and it looks all, not very old at all really. Bit of facading, no doubt. But then, of course, balcony there. You see this here and you think, okay, that's probably just a window or whatever, right? Yeah, brick it in, why not? But then, of course, you go around the corner and you realise this. And I know that often the modern day explanation, let's call it that, for these ground level sticky uppy half doorway, half window, very unusual, doesn't make sense kind of architecture, were used like for coal in the back in the day when they needed to fill their basements up with coal for the winters to use their fireplaces. That's what they were all originally built for. Of course, that's absolute nonsense, because we know they were repurposed. And whilst if you took a look at it and didn't take a closer look at it, you would think that maybe, actually no, it's clearly an entrance that goes far down into the ground. And just to emphasize that point, if we take a side-on angle view of it, then you can see there the low level windows bricked up and the entry there, so that would suggest to me that that goes down at least another level. And of course you find evidence of this all around. I took a load of photographs yesterday when I walked through Boscombe. It was a bit of a miserable day, I have to say, but it doesn't matter. And it's these sorts of buildings, whilst yes there is lots of cladding and facading on them, as myself and Trinity Fork discovered when we did some live streaming a few weeks ago in Bournemouth Town Centre, it is nevertheless, even the cladding or the facading isn't quite honest, let's say, in terms of the dating of it. Alright, now here's the side of that very same building. And this is one of the roads. You might remember months and months ago I put out a video. I put out 2 or 3 actually, but one in particular called Roadworks. And these are the roads that were worked on. This one here, for example, or the new tarmacking. They've ripped this up and relaid it about 3 or 4 times now in the past 2.5 years. Always something else to do. And as you can see over there in the corner again, some remnants of recent roadworks yet again. I was going to keep putting videos out every time there were roadworks, but I would have ended up camping outside because it was always happening here, constantly. Anyway, so getting back to this. So this is the side of the building that we're talking about that's being tarmacked and all the rest of it. Okay, you can say, right, fine, but then when you go over to cross the road on the other side, I can try not to get run over. Thank you very much. Yeah, they do like to put the foot down here sometimes in good old England. You come across these, and there's a lot of them in Bournemouth as well. But of course we take them for granted because they're right near, you know, you walk over them, they're right near where we are all the time. And prism lighting, as Mike once pointed out, I should say, in an earlier video that we did when we were at the Folkestone Centre, also a few weeks ago, as he pointed out correctly, you know, why would you build downstairs, put a window at the side of your wall if you need light? Why would you do that? Why would you do it like this? It just doesn't make sense. And you know, they're everywhere you look. Here, another one. Here, another one. And so it goes on. And of course you've got your drains and everything that people definitely don't question because they're expected to go deep down in the ground, aren't they? Well, yeah, they go deep down in the ground, but they go somewhere. Yeah. But then of course you then go across the road and you have buildings that look old on first view, but of course are not. And that's the funny thing about it. It's a bit like the video I did in Christchurch where they put ruins on mounds, in my opinion, to conceal the mounds. The ruins aren't really ruins, they're just stage sets, and the real old stuff is the stuff that doesn't look as old because it's so well kept, because it's so well built. It stood the test of time. You know, these Tudorian so-called, or whatever era they were supposed to have been built, houses that you see dotted around magnificent buildings like Salisbury Cathedral, you know, the dwellings of the people themselves are all skew with and timber this and timber that, and you know, and allegedly they threw all their toilet out the window in the streets and stuff. That's how primitive they were, right? And yet they could knock up those sorts of buildings like for example Salisbury Cathedral. Look it up, well worth looking up. Salisbury Cathedral, celebrating 800 years of existence this year. And my question, one word, would be how, you know. Anyway, so we came off that road there where I was telling you about that, I know I've gone off the tangent now a little bit, where there were roadworks in the past. And, you know, this, though, is a classic road here where you can see things are built upon each other. You know, windows low, stuff bricked up. You know, a lot of brickwork in this area. I had another look over my notes that I made for a podcast I did a while back. And, you know, this region, up until the 1870s, 1880s, according to the officialdom, had a population that just about reached 900 people. Yet they managed to set up a structure of churches, 10 of them, within a radius of about half a mile, right? And then in between those structures you got things like water towers that we also did videos on, not just here, dotted around everywhere. You know, in the middle of nowhere back in the day. So that means no opportunity to use a transport network. They wouldn't have had an infrastructure in place. There may have been railways up and running, but they wouldn't have been going to every nook and cranny of the country, that's for sure. Etc, etc, you know, lots and lots and lots of questions. But it just goes to show, you know, when you're on closer look here in this region, a lot of these buildings, they tell you they're a certain age. They're obviously older than that, but they're all predominantly bricks. Bricks. And the houses that they're trying to make look old are done with breeze blocks. The world is really, truly upside down. But yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. And yeah, I also wanted to say I went into a charity shop today and I bought myself a book, and the book was called The Dictionary of Dates, and the first edition was printed in 1911 and the edition I've got is from 1940. So I'm going to take a close look at that. I already had a little look through it and it's very, very fascinating, and it also shows you how easily you can pencil in stuff, let's just say, right? It's very easy to backwrite history. It's not difficult at all, especially when you put into the mix the fact that school systems and such like weren't even in place until the beginning of the 1900s. So schools in general, the ones that were around, we're talking the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s. They were connected directly with the church. They were, you know, they were highly elite. They weren't for everybody at all. Kids weren't learning how to read and write and all that in the mid 1800s. They just weren't. So it's very easy to set up a narrative and wait for the right moment to then educate, I nearly said indoctrinate, your children accordingly. And that includes hiding evidence of your history that might give you clues as to where you really do truly stem from, who you really are, what you really are doing here, which of course is the bigger question. But you know, that's where it sort of takes me when I'm walking around on a day like this and those sorts of things are on my mind. And I just wanted to share that with you, really, more than anything else. I guess it's probably nothing you don't already know anyway and don't think yourself, but it's good to know you're not alone, right? In these crazy man-made times. Okay, well, I'm not going to turn left here as this signpost will suggest, and I'm not in a car. I'm going to turn right. Yeah, so I started off by getting a little bit facetious around the whole Jubilee thing. I did have a little look at that. It was flickering on my TV screen in the background, by the way. Here in the UK, for anyone who doesn't know, the Queen is celebrating her 70 years on the throne, as it were. She hasn't been sitting on a throne for 70 years. That would be better than the Apollo crews, wouldn't it? Who managed to sit in their little capsules for days on end without even being able to move. Quite astounding. Where was I? Oh, yes. And I took a little look at the Jubilee celebrations and stuff. And, you know, go and take a look at it. For those Brits out there, if you've got iPlayer, have a look at it, because there is a lot of symbolism. And for your non-Brits out there, go on YouTube or whatever and check out some of the footage from the Queen's Jubilee celebrations of the weekend, especially the ones outside Buckingham Palace, and especially some of the imagery that was beamed on the front building, the front facade, I should say, of Buckingham Palace. They essentially used it as a massive big silver screen. Quite remarkable. And a lot of narrative being pushed, including global warming. Anyway, on that on that note, I will bid you all farewell. I just wanted to get a video out there just to really show my face. Not that I am quite literally doing that, but you know what I mean. And I hope you're all doing okay. I hope everybody's doing well. Everyone's staying sane and all that. It was nice actually, just to round off. It was quite nice the last couple of days. Well, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, it was yesterday. I bumped into a couple of friends I hadn't seen for a little while, who I know from the work we've done here in the last couple of years in terms of not complying with dystopian measures. And hopefully I'll be meeting up with them soon as well in the next few days. So that'll be cool. Bit of a catch up. So that's nice. Have a bit of a rain check, see where we're at after all this nonsense. Not after all this nonsense, that was the wrong word to use, not after. Scrub that. Because nothing's done, is it? Okay. Right, well, on that note, I shall say goodbye. See you all soon. Some of yous sooner. Take care. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.